the key message I'm trying to get across is that the macro environment has fundamentally changed. And then I did some analysis, and other people like Macronaut and BitPain and others have also done the math too. And Bitcoin going up 20x is not a difficult thing. It's done it sometimes in the past. So the key here is that everything is different now with the ETFs, with the amount of money able to flow into the Bitcoin ecosystem. And we can very rapidly go up to 1 million. Whether we stay there or not is a different question, but just the lack of supply, because we are constrained. There's about 1.4, maybe 1.6 million BTC on exchanges right now. That's not a lot. And at some point, it's going to dry up, especially at the rate at which the ETFs are hoovering up all the coins at the moment. I talk often about hyper-Bitcoinization. And if you believe in hyper-Bitcoinization, then it's impossible to believe in diminishing returns, because there should be no cycles to Bitcoin. If you're going to reach the point of hyper-Bitcoinization whereby we replace all fiat money, then there is nothing to go back to. So what are you measuring the returns in, right? If the US dollar no longer exists, then how can you have diminishing returns? So I guess there's two parts there. One is, will there be another cycle? And I'm not really sure. Like, just because we had 3 similar looking cycles in the past does not mean that we're always going to have this cycle, right? Because it's like flipping a coin. You get heads 3 times doesn't mean the next time it's more likely you're going to get tails. It's a different equation every single time. And the other part is, well, if Bitcoin does replace fiat, then there is no diminishing returns. You're just Bitcoin now. So it's not really possible to measure returns.
Crypto fam, welcome back to the channel. That was Samson Mao telling you why Bitcoin could be going to $1 million sooner than anybody is expecting. And in today's video, we're going to be looking at some indicators for Bitcoin in this crypto market going forward over the next year or so. A lot of potential catalysts that could lift Bitcoin higher. As you can see right here, Bitcoin is currently sitting at around $64,000. Market cap's around $1.2 billion. But there's been a lot of progress for BTC over the past couple months, even though the price has been stagnant. We peaked out in March. Since then, we kind of have been trading between $73,000. We got as low as around 53K. But the big news that recently just came out is we have the rumors that Trump will be announcing a strategic reserve policy for the United States, putting Bitcoin on the United States balance sheet to help with some of the debt issues. This could be something that sends Bitcoin to $1 million very quickly. Because if we see the United States do this, we're going to see other countries in the European Union do this, more countries in South America do this, and Asia, and just across the entire world follow in the United States' footsteps as really legitimizing Bitcoin as that global reserve currency. This would really make Bitcoin compete with US dollar for that global reserve currency status. So if we see something like this, that would be huge. And Trump is talking at the Bitcoin conference next week. So we'll keep you guys up to date, everything that comes out. With that, make sure to subscribe. Hit that like button as well. That helps with the channel, helps push the video out to more people. So make sure to do that. And then Jamie Dimon has been in contact with Trump here lately, and he's actually changed his tune on BTC. As you can see over the years, he has basically called Bitcoin a Ponzi scheme, a hyped up fraud. He's not a fan of BTC, but now he is, because I think Trump probably changed his mind, saying, hey, we need to be pro Bitcoin, pro crypto, because there's a lot of jobs in the United States. Bitcoin is now $1 trillion asset. It's legitimate. And now Jamie Dimon has to change his tune. JP Chase is pro Bitcoin. They're holding some of the Bitcoin for the ETFs. And if there's going to be money to be made in Bitcoin in the future, JP Chase is going to want to be a part of that. And then what Samson was talking about in that video, talking about how there's not a lot of Bitcoin left on exchanges. This is the BTC balance on exchanges. You can see it's been going down over the past couple of years, but as of late, it's actually been going up. You can see around 50,000 Bitcoin were added to exchanges over the past couple of weeks. And I thought this was very interesting because this aligns up with the Bitcoin that the German government had. They had around 50,000 Bitcoin. They sent that to exchanges and then they sold that. So a lot of that Bitcoin that went to exchanges over the past couple of weeks could have been from the German government just sending their Bitcoin to exchanges. But as we can see, the trend is still intact more and more BTC is losing exchanges, and we have more and more demand for these ETFs. The US spot Bitcoin ETFs have hit an all-time high of more than 900,000 Bitcoin. That's how much they're holding. And we're just getting started. These ETFs have only been here for a couple of months now, about half a year. And then I was looking at a stat for BlackRock. I believe for all of their assets under management, Bitcoin is like 0.02% of their total assets under management. So the amount of Bitcoin that they're holding compared to the rest of their assets, it's not a lot. So we have a lot of room to grow in terms of more money flowing into buying this Bitcoin and the ETFs holding that BTC. And then just to give you guys an update, today's Thursday, July 18th, and the updated flows, we had GBTC with a $22 million outflow, but BlackRock is still buying $103 million inflow. So we're about net 80 million for the day. And we haven't even seen FBTC, we haven't seen ARK, BitB, or any of the other ETFs as well, which could be bringing in a couple $1 million. So another good day. The past couple of weeks for these Bitcoin ETFs, we've seen nothing but inflows. And then something to just think about, there's only 450 Bitcoin that are produced from the miners every single day. So just with this $80 million inflow, that's over 1,500 BTC. So you can just see that there's a lot more demand than there is supply to actually go around. So if demand outpaces supply, we're going to have to see higher prices eventually if these ETFs continue to buy millions and millions of dollars of Bitcoin. And then we have the Ethereum ETF that's going to be coming next week as projected by James Seifert. And you can see some of the ETFs here. We have the Grayscale Ethereum Trust, which will be coming in at 2.5% fee. You have Invesco, iShares, Fidelity, 21 shares, Bitwise, Vanek, Franklin, and then Grayscale has their mini trust. So they're actually having two different trusts this time because I think they learned from their failure from the Bitcoin trust that they had and so much outflow. So now they have another trust here that doesn't have that high of a fee, that 2.5% fee like they had with the Bitcoin trust there. It's going to be really interesting to see if this takes away from the Bitcoin ETF flows, or if there's just not a lot of demand for the Ethereum ETF flow. So we'll start to see that over the next couple of weeks once these finally go live and start trading. And then Mark Cuban talking about Bitcoin on Twitter, and he's saying the reason why Silicon Valley is in support of Donald Trump this election is because it's a Bitcoin and a crypto play. And he's saying like with the Trump tax cuts, that's going to drive Bitcoin's price higher. Combine that with global uncertainty as to the geopolitical role of the United States and the impact in the dollar as a reserve currency, that's going to make people want to speculate on Bitcoin and hold BTC. And then he goes into how high could Bitcoin actually go. So I'm just going to read this for you guys. He says, way higher than you think. Remember, the market for Bitcoin is global and the supply has a final limit of 21 million BTC with unlimited fractionalizations. Keep in mind, as you consider what happened if because of geopolitical uncertainty and the decline of the dollar as a reserve currency, Bitcoin becomes a safe haven globally, which means that BTC could be what countries and all of us look to buy as a means to protect our savings. Crazy, it already happens in countries facing hyperinflation. He's talking about El Salvador, Argentina's been looking into Bitcoin. Some countries in Africa have been very pro BTC. And if things really go further than we can imagine today, and he's not saying they will, then Bitcoin becomes exactly what the Maxis envisioned, a global currency. So if Bitcoin becomes that global reserve currency, we could see that $1 million Bitcoin over the next year. It's not out of the cards, and things may start to get denominated in BTC over the United States dollar, which would be crazy to see. But nonetheless, next 2 years for BTC is going to be very, very interesting to see how everything plays out. And then with all this, we have the potential of interest rates lowering in the second half of this year going into 2025 because we're finally starting to see the inflation numbers cool down a little bit there. And then outside of all of that, we have another company, the largest Bitcoin ATM operator, Bitcoin Depot. They're going to adopt the Bitcoin treasury and they make $700 million annually. So there's another company who's going to be putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet and holding it, similar to MicroStrategy. Now we have Square doing it, MicroStrategy, Simler Scientific, Bitcoin Depot, and I'm sure there's some others that I'm missing right now, but you can see this is their ticker symbol if you want to check them out, BTM. They are currently trading at $1.67. Their market cap is only around $104 million. So check out Bitcoin Depot if you guys want to. And then in other news, MicroStrategy is currently rated number 307 in the top companies rated by market cap. When Bitcoin peaked at around 66,000 in a couple of days, it did get in the top 300 for a couple of days, but it's actually really interesting because even though MicroStrategy is in the top 300 companies now, or almost there, it's still not in the S&P 500. Once we get this 10-to-1 MicroStrategy stock split, which is coming August 1st, that could propel the price higher, along with Bitcoin's price going higher, which would make the stock price go higher. It could get maybe into the top 200, maybe the top 100 companies potentially, depending on how Bitcoin goes. If we'll start to see MicroStrategy get included in the S&P 500, and then you'll have everyday individuals who buy the S&P every 2 weeks buying Bitcoin and not even knowing that they're buying BTC. So something to think about there. And then looking at the liquidity, it looks like we are in this global liquidity cycle. We were bottoming in 2013 or 2023. We're coming out of that. Looks like global liquidity is going to start coming back up to the upside. They're going to be printing more money, which is good for asset prices. It's going to make real estate rise, crypto rise. All assets will probably rise once more liquidity is in the market. And it makes a lot of sense that we're going to be seeing more liquidity over the next year, just because interest rates are probably going to come down as inflation is definitely cooling. We're seeing month over month deflation right now. We're finally starting to see that CPI number in housing come down, which was really holding up inflation for a very long time, but now that's starting to come down. So hopefully we'll start to see more liquidity in the market. And then you can see some of these charts here. These are actually something that Raw Powell shared and something we like to look at here, but you can see this is Bitcoin and how it does during the different seasons: Bitcoin spring, summer, fall, and winter. You can see right now we're in mid 2024. So that's going to be summer. You can see how Bitcoin performs in the summer. It goes normally up to the right, but it can be pretty boring. Not a lot of huge price action until crypto fall. And that's going to be 2025 next year. So you can see how Bitcoin normally performs in fall, and it's normally bullish. So we could really see Bitcoin continue to be bullish for the second half of this year, going into crypto fall, if history repeats itself. And then you can see the GMI Total Liquidity Index thinks we're going to be peaking with liquidity in June of 2025, which lines up pretty well with the Bitcoin 4-year cycles. This is the altcoins total market cap. You can see they really do well during that crypto fall, which will be next year. And then the GMI Total Liquidity Index, you can see this is when liquidity goes up. You can see normally in summer and fall, liquidity does pretty well, but in winter, it starts to go down. You can see back here in 2012, it's going up in 2013, 2014, it peaks before going down. Same thing here. So if history repeats itself, we're going to start to see liquidity continue to go up for the rest of the year into 2025 before going down in 2026. And then Mr. 100 has been buying a lot of BTC. As you can see, all of July, basically starting on the 5th, he's bought a massive amount of BTC, thousands of Bitcoin in July. So whoever this is, some people think this is just an exchange wallet. Some people believe this is a sovereign wealth fund. Eventually it will probably come out, but they have been buying the dip. They were buying back at 54,000. They stopped buying at 63, started buying back in at 54. And they've been buying ever since. They stopped buying here after Bitcoin went above $63,000. But they've been buying the dip pretty heavy there. Yeah, but that's really all I had for today's video. A lot of bullish catalysts for Bitcoin going into the second half of this year, into 2025. Let me know what you guys think about all that in the comment section below. Definitely think Bitcoin hits 6 figures for the next year or so. Not financial advice, but let me know what you guys think. I'm out. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, and I'm out.